Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini. I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Gorman. Tom, how's it going?
It's good. Good to see you. I haven't
Uh,
seen you in a whole week
it
and a half.
that was a long week. I still have a hangover from one lap, and it's Wednesday, so it ended on Saturday.
So I kind of got the impression I didn't push the issue, but we didn't do a final episode because I just didn't hear from you
I
like
was
after we recorded.
yeah, I
And I
was
was
just
like, they're doing their thing. Let them go.
I
Like,
was
there's probably a dinner. There's probably a good rest. There's probably a sleep in. All that.
it was just me being in like a TV coma. I don't know. I just that couch became real comfy. I really haven't done anything besides like work and like lay on the couch. We did an iRace last night, but that was like the first time I started to feel normal.
Oh no. I meant just the Saturday, Sunday. Like I didn't hear from you after Grattan when we recorded on Friday.
Yeah,
And we had a couple people being like, "Hey, where was the final episode?" If you missed it, by the way, we did daily episodes for One Lap of America.
I guess we
But when
did
I
kind of
didn't
miss
hear
the
from you
final
after we
episode.
recorded, we didn't really like wrap up. I was like, they must be doing
This is the
like
wrap up. This is the wrap
this
up.
is the wrap up.
Yeah, this is the wrap up. So to wrap up, so we talked. We talked after. Was it after my second session or after my first session at Grattan?
Second.
So I did both of my sessions.
Yep. All you had to do was skid pad and party. Did you do
Yep.
your shot?
No, I went to
didn't
bed. I
think
went to
you
bed
did.
at like 10:30.
Was Steve still the highlight of your week?
I think honestly, I think probably the highlight of my week would have been drag racing Monique.
Okay, I like that.
That was pretty good.
Good answer.
That was way more fun than I thought it would be. I think the surprise of how fun drag racing was is what caught me out. And maybe it was only fun because I was drag racing against a bunch of people who don't drag race. So like it's kind of like normally you would go and you just get like squashed by people who actually know how to drag race and you never make it past like the first or second round. But like going like round to round to round to round and feeling like I had a chance in the game was way more entertaining than I thought it would be. And Christine has approved, I got to figure out the details, but she has approved a Mazda 3 drag racing date night.
All right. Cool. Okay. Um, why do you think that people who do it all the time would kick your ass?
I don't know. Maybe there's like some nuance that I don't understand with the I don't know. Maybe I would be completely fine. Is there really that much to it? I'm not sure, but
I you sounded so confident that you wouldn't do well. I'm just curious if you knew something I didn't.
oh no,
Maybe there's a way to like game the dial-in stuff that you can like ever so slightly like dial it up, but
I'm not
no,
sure. I
you would want to do the opposite.
I think I just want to acknowledge that there's a very high percentage that I'm on the front edge of the Dunning-Kruger curve when it comes to drag racing.
No, I think Drag God.
Nope.
Drag
I
God.
never felt the pit of despair.
New merch coming.
I never felt the pit of despair, which is a direct evidence that I'm probably on the Dunning-Kruger curve with drag racing on some level.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, until you feel
Well,
the
that'll be
pit of
exciting. I
despair,
can't wait to hear.
you know you're on the front leading edge, which is it's a really good time. It's really fun. Enjoy that ride, but at some point you're gonna crest over the top of the Mount of Peak Stupid or whatever, and then it's the Mount of Peak Stupid. I
Close.
yeah, it was we were almost there. I'm still recovering from one lap. If I didn't mention that already. Anyways, that was probably the highlights. Uh, Telling Steve he got second on the skid pad, and then them wigging out in the car. That was pretty fun. Seeing Salil and Chris win, like how happy they were. That was that
Yay.
was pretty fun as well. And getting to tell everyone at one lap why our team name was Thanks Dave. I almost chickened out because I wanted to grab the microphone, but I was like, there wasn't like I would have had to like take it from Solomon, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then Mike King was like, hey, tell everyone why the team name is Thanks Dave. And then that kind of prompted the microphone to end up in my hand, and then I got to tell everyone that 2 weeks before one lap, Peter's GT3 RS blew up, and I was telling Peter, well, we can do it in an FRS, and he was not looking very happy with that option. And Dave, just out of the kindness of his heart, lended us his beloved Supra. And I understand why he loves it so much because it honestly was a great car. And I think it was around the same pace as the GT3 RS. And with 2 weeks to spare, getting a car that's just as fast as GT3 RS, like we're super lucky.
No kidding. So did he say you could take a GT Nats yet or no?
I don't know. I think he plans on taking a
I made that
GT
up right there.
Nets. Well, okay, so the car's classed, and so they changed the classing, the way it works in time trials, SCCA time trials. So it used to be in
Yeah.
Max 2, but now it's in Max 1, which is the same class as his uh, GT3. So wouldn't you just rather take the GT3 to time trial nationals than the
Well, I
Supra?
think I think Team David Marcus Motorsports should bring both cars, and you could have a big setup.
Team David.
We could have a Lizard Brains flag on one and his flag on the other.
Yeah, we could. We
I don't
could.
know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that's a definite possibility.
Dave, tongue firmly in cheek. But also, wouldn't that be fun?
Uh, well, he's already going to have some data from the car doing some laps around pit race. I believe that would have been the Max 2 record. My second lap I did there.
If 40,
I did a
49?
49.0. I think if so the car's already pulling power on the second lap, and the tires are like not in their sweet spot because the first lap is a standing start, so you're driving flat out on the first lap, and then by the time you come around to the second lap, the tires are a little past their peak already, and the car does get slower as the session goes on. And a lot of times in this event, if you for some reason you weren't paying attention to the one lap things, I don't think that every single time the car like lost boost, some of those times it might have just been going into limp mode because the last time at Grattan in the afternoon session, it lost boost on the third lap again. But this time when we were looking at all the connections, they were all like super solid. There's no way anything was leaking. And we didn't even touch any of the connections. We just started it up and I took it for a little cruiser on the paddock and it had full power again and we didn't touch anything. So it's making me think that maybe some of those times where we thought we got a boost leak, the car just actually went into limp mode for some reason. But the car's really dumb in the sense that it doesn't throw a code. It doesn't tell you why. It just goes slow all of a sudden, and you turn it off and turn it back on, and now it's fast again. And you never know why it went slow.
That sounds like Claptrap after it got K-swapped. It did that for years until they changed the entire ECU, the new owners, after I sold it, actually. I sold it with them, like, the caveat, like, this is gonna happen. You literally had to, like, be ready to cycle the key from what is it? Ignition to auxiliary back to ignition, just that quick,
Yeah,
and it would just come back, no problem. Otherwise, you were at, like, a 2,500 rev limit or,
rev
limp mode.
limiter. Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah, I
Yep.
don't think that would have been an option with the push button start and it being an automatic
Right, you'd have to do, like, double tap and then tap again and hope it comes back, but
but then it's an
and
automatic, so,
drive
like, what do I
at
put it
speed.
do I put it in neutral, like, when I'm rolling down the straightaway? Like, "Nah, you'll just drive around with a 200 horsepower Supra."
That's why you need a man's car. Get you that 6-speed manual.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't know how to play off of that. I was like, what is a quote unquote man's car? Is that a Corvette?
No, manual.
Oh, manual. Oh, none of those
Manual. Manual
auto.
transmission V8 motor. I don't know. Sorry, as you were. It
Sorry.
was going to limp mode is what you think was happening.
I think that happens some of the times. So I don't know exactly what was throwing it in limp mode. It could Dave, Marcus, and Peter were thinking that it was like the IAT temps. So I think that's like intake temps. So if they got to a
Mhm.
certain point, but why did it never happened in the morning? It only happened in the afternoon, which kind of leads to that theory because
Hotter.
it's a little hotter. Uh, but then also but Dave only did one lap he does only one lap at a time basically at time trial events. So it doesn't matter if it's that hot. I don't know. I don't know why it did it. Or why it would probably do it again. Sometimes it was fine in the third lap in the afternoon, and sometimes it wasn't. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. That's annoying. Cars are annoying, but at least you don't have to deal with it for very much any longer, I guess.
Yeah, look, the car drove great, and it was awesome on the commutes. It was so quiet. It was so quiet
Mhm.
on the commutes. You could, like, actually, like, hear the radio and,
Ooh, I gotta check in with Salil and Chris and see how bad the
oh,
GT4 was, because
it
every time
dude, it sounded
what did he
awful.
say?
Well, so the intake, it has 2 intakes, and it meets, like, a plenum that's, like, directly behind their head. Like, the top of the
What?
engine is, like, directly
A what?
plenum?
Plenum.
Am I using that term
Yeah,
wrong?
help. I don't know what it is.
I think it's, like, the air box before the intake manifold. Somebody in the audience help me out. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. So,
Well, according to dictionary.com, it's a space filled with matter. So you're completely right.
as long as
I
it's
don't
not in the vacuum of space, I am correct.
yes, I guess.
So,
I don't I
anyways,
go
they
ahead.
have an intake right outside the driver window and right outside the passenger window, and apparently it just howls the whole time they're going down the road. Doesn't matter
Mm.
if the window's up, nothing. Yeah, and so apparently, like, they would get into the hotel and their ears would be ringing from the transits. It sounded actually kind of awful.
Yikes.
That being said, the car that won one lap is for sale.
Oh, yeah, and also the reign of the stock supercar continues.
Yep,
That's
yeah, that
5
is
years in a
true.
row.
Yep. Ah, dang. All right, we got to get that GT3 RS going. Come on, Peter. That's not your last one lap. Peter did say it was his last one lap, but I don't know. We'll see if that actually happens or not.
Right. Anything else from the end day, the final day, getting home? We've had 4 days
Oh,
now.
so the dry skid pad, I kind of messed it up a little bit because I thought I hit a cone. So I gave myself more space than I needed. And the reason why I thought I hit a cone is I came around and the flagger guy held up a finger, like one, like +1.
Oh,
He was just telling me there's one lap to go. Who can't count
one
to
more lap, yeah.
two? Who can't count to two? We're doing 2 laps. You got to tell me there's one more lap to go like I lost track? Are you kidding me?
It can get overwhelming, I don't know. Yeah, especially in the dry. I can get in the wet when you're getting hit with water every 10 seconds or, you know,
Yeah,
couple tenths. In the dry, yeah.
I don't know. So that
How
messed
did
me
you
up a
do?
little
Where did
bit.
you finish overall?
Like 8th or whatever, but I was trying to
Okay.
beat Ian and Bob. I think it was a Bob. I was trying to beat that GTS Cayman that was there because we beat them overall, but in class because the points work a little different, they beat us. So we had a second place in class trophy, and I was hoping to get Peter
Oh.
that like first place in class trophy, but they beat us on the skid pad, and I think it was literally because I thought I hit a cone when I come around and it says +1. So, because I thought I was pretty close on my
Damn.
first lap, and I was going to go even closer on my second, just because I don't exactly. It feels like I'm right on top of them, but then I'll ask, like Peter, hey, how close was I to the cones? And he'll say, oh, you were this close, which is like a foot. And I'm like, oh crap,
Yeah.
I thought I was like inches off of that. And I think that's really what's like necessary to do well at the skid pad is just being like inch, 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 inch on all the cones.
I did see the Tesla guys. Hi, if you're listening, Team PGR. They tried to like squirt the last little bit. Were you able to watch this?
I saw a
Or they
lot
were
of people
behind
doing
you?
that. I saw a lot of people doing that.
Well, I saw they tried to do it, but it's 1,000 horsepower Tesla and not like everything else. So it like squirted straight almost into the grass, and he like
Oh, yeah, I
it
did see
drags the
that.
rear axle through the dirt.
Yeah, I did see that, I did see that.
I was like, I don't think skid pads work like that, but that was cool.
Well, so, alright, Tom, 'cause so there's the skid pad is such like a departure from, like, what I know like, when it comes to racetrack, I know how to make a lap time, but on a skid pad, like, it
Shortest distance.
is it, like, even at the end, or do you, like, squirt to the end, or do you just keep it
Nope.
yeah, you just keep it
Stay as right where you are. Yep.
yep.
Because I guess I don't really know the science behind it. There's probably not probably there is physics and math behind like traveling that distance at that's fixed speed or whatever it is the fastest you can possibly do. But even back to like Gran Turismo 2 license tests, I used to when I was a kid, I would try to go as fast as possible and like they would give you this big wide track. You had to do a couple different radiuses of circles. And now going back and playing it as an adult, it's literally like grip the inside and just tuck it like NCM turn 18 when I always say drive it like it's a skid pad. You just cut all the distance out and drive the limit of the car. That's all you can do.
All right. Next next time I do that skid pad, it's going down. I'm not gonna listen to the dude with his waving one plus one finger.
No, you thought you hit cones both times this year. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, I thought I felt a clunk in the wet skid pad. And I
Uh
also
huh.
thought I did much better this time around in the wet skid pad than I did last year, and I placed like way worse.
Yeah, but we already talked about why that could be.
Yeah. So
I don't think you have to worry about that. It's not like you forgot how to drive in the wet.
no, it's just there's like things. So I feel like the way I become good at things involving driving is by like figuring out my weaknesses them and then figuring out a way to practice that out. And my like me not doing any skid pads just feels like there's not this inherent knowledge or like understanding of like what makes somebody good at the skid pad and what makes somebody not good at the skid pad. And I haven't like stumbled upon like a really good result yet. So I haven't like figured out like, oh, that's what it should feel like, or that's what I should be aiming for, or you know what I mean? Like I just don't know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
But I'm super grateful for Peter, because Peter was supposed to do the drag racing and the dry skid pad. And I asked Peter, hey, it doesn't matter this year, but if I'm ever doing one lap and it's for the win of the thing, and I've never done these things, and it's the first time seeing them, I'll be at a disadvantage compared to everyone else. And Peter was like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's why he let me do the drag race and the dry skid pad because I've never done either of those before. So thank you, Peter.
Sure.
On top of all the other thanks Peter deserves, he gets thank you for that as well. So
What a guy.
yeah, what a
I hope I
legend.
get to see him soon. Um, well, I kind of like when I got home from rescuing Andy and Alex, I was just kind of a race fan all weekend. Like I didn't really have anything planned for this weekend.
Yeah,
I forget why. I forget why I had a weekend off here, but I watched the like all the IMSA races from Laguna Seca. I watched a bunch of the racing from SCCA from Portland. I watched as much as I could of Grid Life from live timing screens, I guess. Like I was just following like everything.
I mean,
What?
hold on. You can watch Matan Rosenberg's in car because he had a live
Yeah,
stream
yeah. I
going.
found that for Sunday
That
or
was like the
Saturday, I
only
guess,
way to watch the weekend was Matan's in car.
which is wild. But yes, I was just like I was like a couch. What do they call it? Armchair quarterback all weekend.
Yeah,
But the thing that I found myself dialed in the most on was the freaking broadcasting and commentary more than the racing,
yeah.
and I thought that was so bizarre. It's like mostly because I felt like it was kind of poor, especially from IMSA. The Ford broadcast. I don't know if anybody watches these Ford Dark Horse races. It sounds like there's two Ford executives with shotguns behind them, like ready to pull the trigger if they don't talk about Ford enough. It's crazy
I
how
need to
bad the
see it.
broadcasting
I
is.
need to see it. So it's just a Ford commercial.
And it's like there was some entertaining racing happening, and then they had some sort of I gotta tell you about this. They had I think I told you about it last night actually, but they had this technical issue. So the commentary dropped out and the whole live stream's going on like this is the best, because you can hear the cars and you can hear them like auto heel toe downshifting, so they sound cool. And the battle they're showing is the CEO of Ford. You know how he's like a car guy in races. And it's this other guy in the legends class, which means he's over 50 years old. And they're showing this battle back and forth and back and forth. And this other guy is just like a maniac. He will just like come in from forever ago and dive bomb. And then the Ford CEO always sees him coming, lets him hang himself, does the over under. He's like
He's
doing
just doing
smart
that over
racecraft,
and
but he's
over
slower
again. Yeah.
over and over until the guy hits him. Finally, just like tags him into the
You
last
don't.
corner.
You do not hit the CEO of Ford in the Ford Mustang. Good luck getting replacement parts, buddy.
Right. And you know it's some 50 some 60 year old dude who's going to love that story for the rest of his life. I hit the CEO of Ford. And it was and there was no commentary, no nothing. So like if you didn't know what you were watching, just like two Mustangs driving around. But that was very entertaining. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else from the weekend that was like podcast worthy storytelling, but not really. I guess just did a lot of watching and critiquing of commentary that was lacking.
What I want some commentary and some insight. What was Alex and Andy's demeanor when you picked them up from pit race?
Oh yeah. Honestly, it was pretty good because so I knew it was good because when I walked in, they were joking and telling stories about like the best parts of the weekend
Yeah.
instead of commiserating about how close they came or like what could have been. And then they would momentarily have the like, man, but then it would slip back into how, Alex almost fell off his scooter or how Andy almost got arrested in Kansas. That may or may not be a true story. And all these other things that were like, it sounded like they had the funnest one lap that they possibly could have for not being able to follow it all the way through.
Yeah. Uh,
And the only reason they didn't get home in time to like have the car running before was because we stayed there and had like an extra round of margaritas and hung out and we got hotels instead of them leaving and driving home uh and being able to like have the car running. He wanted to like post that it's running before the skid pad was done. That was
yeah.
his initial goal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the good times took over. So I think they were in good spirits.
Okay, cool. All right. That
I just don't know if they're ever going to try it again.
it sounds like they are like in the one lap Discord channel. Alex was he was already saying like all right, we're ready for next year or something along those lines if I remember right. Also,
Yeah.
I
That's
said
good.
I said to Andy and Alex once that I think Dave Marcus will have something for you guys at VAR and they will literally not let me live it down because they were so much faster than I thought they would be at VAR.
I heard.
See,
Alex was like, we were told we were going to be slow this morning.
no, not slow. Not slow. I just thought maybe it wasn't a sure thing first place because every other racetrack we were going to, it was like everyone was just fighting for second. Like Super K was definitely going to get first. It wasn't even a contest. And then at VAR, I thought, you know what? Because we were talking about the gearing of the
Drag strips.
car and all this, and it's just like a bunch of straightaways. And I know that the Porsche, like it gets to a really high top speed and it has a lot of downforce. And Dave was looking through super solid through the S's. And all I said was, Dave might have something for you. And it gets misconstrued as this, oh, you guys are going to be quote unquote slow, which let's be honest, would be a completely ridiculous statement because anybody who had said that Andy and Super K would be slow would be like the dumbest person in the world.
This is Alex's favorite kind of trash talk, though. He loves to
No.
have like it's like trash talk with a seasoning of gaslighting, just a little bit to like get you riled up, and so it's working. He's under
Yeah,
your skin.
it's obviously working. Yeah. I asked him one time we were watching in car, and this is an Alex Moss story. One time we were watching in car in like a trailer at Gingerman, and for some reason Andy started in the back, and he was kind of just driving by people, and I wanted to wait till he got like farther up the field where he actually started to like battle some people. So I was like, I just wanted to skip like the next like 5 minutes of footage. So I said, without even thinking about it, and I'll never live it down, I said, hey, can we fast forward when Andy's done passing all the scrubs? And as I said that, Alex Moss turns around. He's literally getting passed on the video screen, and he goes, "Oh, scrubs, huh?" And no,
Yeah,
and now Alex never lets me live it down. And he said he's never gonna forget it. So that's where we're at.
that's his. That's just a sign of love.
And when I said scrubs, I meant it with love. It's people still figuring it out.
Damn, I'm surprised you quoted that verbatim. That was big of you
No, is this?
because you sure did say that.
I did say that, but like, because we were all just, it like, all right, you guys have to understand the atmosphere. We were all giving everyone shit, like in the trailer. It
It
wasn't
was.
like we were all being like super nice, and then DJ comes in and be like, "Oh, scrubs."
Yeah. And why do you suck in particular?
Yeah.
Okay, I had an idea about one lap actually.
Yeah.
So they bring the support vehicles every year, and this is a little bit out of the spirit, but maybe it's a smart idea. When I had to go rescue Andy and Alex, they have support vehicles that they could easily tow trailers with. I think one lap should have like a donor trailer that you can. You know how Top Gear had the 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 car that everybody didn't want to follow them around, like they had a Volkswagen Beetle follow them around the road trips or whatever. You ever watch Top Gear?
Yeah, but I don't know what you're talking about.
On their big road trips, they would always have the backup car that was like the car nobody wanted, and they would make fun of it the whole time. I think one lap should have that kind of trailer. And if your car goes on the trailer, you get rescued, they can bring you home. But it's also like there's some sort of trade off with like we either get to like I don't know put extra stickers on it or
The thing
like
is,
haze you somehow.
I think the attrition, it's not like Super K was the only car that died. I think there was probably like 10 cars that like didn't make it to the end.
True.
So
Yeah, fair. I guess I still think that they should travel with one like hopeless trailer behind.
yeah, or like a car dolly to make it even more. Embarrassing.
There you go. A parade float.
Yeah, see, Danny was participating. He said, "I had 0 expectations making it to the end." Danny, how many miles did your car have? I remember you telling me, and it was a lot. 212,000, miles, BMW, and he raced it the whole week and, drove it back.
Heck yeah. What was the final mileage count this year? 3,600 some?
It
You
wasn't a
look?
lot. It was actually kind of a short one. I think the last 3 commutes, like, back to back to back were kinda brutal, but the first couple were, like, real short. They were, like, 4 or 5-hour commutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's he keeps saying it's supposed to get harder and then it keeps getting easier.
Solomon was talking about maybe every 10 years doing, like, a one back to the roots where it's, like, you're not getting into the hotel till, like, 1 AM or stuff like that. But honestly, is that even worth it?
I think a lot of people are getting smarter with like it's a little bit dangerous to be honest.
It is a little bit, but then also like the whole crowd of one lap, like because they've had people doing it with them for like 20 plus years. Like the whole crowd's getting older, so and all the cars are getting a little like I don't know. I have no history.
Crazier.
Well, yeah, I just feel like they're getting like more track purposed than they have years past.
I would argue with that. I only did my first one in 2021, but I followed it since like the mid 20 well, about 2010 to be honest. So I followed it for like 15 years and it went through an era of like it was the top 3, the top 5 every year it was GTRs, like track modified like at the time attack GTRs. Probably similar to what Super K is now, but I don't there's not really much left like that now.
Yeah,
I think it's more like
I wonder where those
bought
cars went.
bought and modified than built because they're so unreliable. A
They
bunch
just
of
kept
people
blowing
like
up.
yeah, so they either sold them or a bunch of those people just phased out of doing the event.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Because there's obviously a ton of new people coming in, and I wonder how many people do it like just that one time and go like, "That was a cool experience. I'm glad I got to, mark that off my bucket list." And then they never
It's a
come
good
back.
question.
I bet it's a decent percentage, at least like 30% maybe. Like they do the one and done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it at more than that though. I see a lot of the same cars and
No, it's
people.
it's mostly the same people, and they announced that there's gonna be a West Coast one. So now there's gonna be 2 one laps in the year. So people are talking about like, is this now like my motorsports? Like, so they do recon on all these tracks, so that like fills up weekends, and then they do the 2 events every year, and then like that's their motorsports for the year.
The recon is super fun.
The recon is super fun. It's track days with a purpose, which is fun.
Yeah. So what would the perfect one lap West Coast be?
I
I
think
think there's
they've
a Tire Rack headquarters in Las Vegas, so I think we have to start and end there.
that is where it's starting. It is starting in Las Vegas.
Oh, look at me go. Okay.
Tom's like putting a
Does it already
puzzle
have a route?
together. I think it has a vague route. Mike might be saying I missed the drivers meeting because I was at a Toyota dealership, so I don't really have all this information.
Gotcha. Well, let's build our own perfect one. I would want to go to Laguna Seca. I would want to go to Thunder Hill.
I think Thunder Hill's on the list.
I could give a shit about Portland, but I think you'd have to go up there. Actually, I would want to go to the Ridge or Pacific Raceways in Seattle instead.
Oh, so it looks like it's
And if
3
we could do both, those
racetracks.
are both fun.
Sounds like it's 3
Oh,
racetracks. So Spring Mountain, Button Willow, and then Thunder Hill.
Thunder Hill. I love Thunder Hill. That's amazing. I don't know about Button Willow. If it's the new track, it doesn't look very good, but the old track's fun.
I coached
Hopefully, you get a little
somebody.
ride for that. That'd be fun.
I coached somebody on the new track. It actually looked kind of entertaining.
Really? The
Yeah.
in-car video I watched of it looked a little rinky dink.
It looks a little small, but I think some of the nuances, like turn one, how it like where it because it's like a super wide track after turn one. I think there's some like
Yeah.
nuances and on camber, off camber. The curbs look friendly enough, but like not super friendly where they're like Gingerman style, like where you like actually lean the car into them. It looked like it would be good enough. I mean, whatever, it's a racetrack. But Spring Mountain's like a private track. Like I don't think you can normally get onto that racetrack, can you?
I don't really know how that track works. It's definitely membership primarily. I've actually coached people with houses there before, but I've never been there. And I actually don't think the facility is that fancy. It's not like I think Thermal is the really fancy one where they have like the IndyCar Invitational and stuff. I think Spring Mountain is like pretty clubby, like Autobahn, let's say,
Yeah.
instead of like pro crazy
Yeah,
track.
yeah, yeah.
That's my impression. Autobahn in the desert. Uh, you want to know why Button Willow? You know the two tracks can't connect. Do you know why?
No.
Because there's a very rare and endangered species of rodent that lives in the woods between the two tracks, and they couldn't get zoned to connect the tracks.
Really?
I think it's a rodent. I think it's a rodent. Pretty sure. Mouse, maybe? Some kind of desert mouse. I don't know.
What if the track went underground?
That's where the mouse is. It
Oh,
needs to go up
it needs to go
in the
over
air.
in the air. Sorry, I was thinking a
Yeah.
bird for some reason. I don't know why.
A jump. Why did they think of a jump?
Oh, come on. Have these people never played San Francisco Rush before?
That'd be so fun. If it had like an up, not actually a jump, but you know, if it had like an elevation feature, like Coda Turn 1, where you like go up and over this
Yeah.
endangered species.
Come on. It couldn't cost that much. Somebody write the check.
I don't know.
Suspension bridge
I don't
over.
know if this mouse
over
knows he's getting in the
woods.
way of all our fun.
Yeah, the mouse is probably okay. Who knows? The mouse might be really important to the ecosystem out there or something. I don't know.
Probably.
I'm not going to pretend to know. I am very much on the leading end of the Dunning-Kruger curve when it comes to anything about nature.
And drag racing.
Yes, and drag racing.
I wrote down one other thing from this past week, but it was kind of like 2 weeks ago almost at this point.
Yeah.
When we do our this is a hard pivot. When we do our commentary job for SCCA, they have the production team back in North Carolina that gives all of our video feeds, and the director's in our ear or producers in our ear, and he always plays this NASCAR driver name game with us, number game with us, where he'll tell us how many seconds are back, and he'll be like 24 seconds until you're live, and we have the amount of time to name what NASCAR driver's number that is.
Like current?
Any. It's a fun game, but I just realized telling you this story that you're not a racing fan, so that wouldn't mean much to you.
I am a racing fan.
For the
I just
listeners.
don't follow the people that do racing.
For the listeners, if I was like 9 seconds to your life, who would you say? 3, 2, 1. Wrong. Casey Kane.
Wrong.
That's how the game works. I don't know.
You
Unless you're right, and then congrats.
You just yelled at everyone listening. Wrong.
88. 3, 2, 1. You said Dale Earnhardt? No, it's Dale Jarrett.
Wait, there was another 88 back in the day, back when I actually watched NASCAR. Who was that?
Wasn't that Dale Jarrett? Uh-oh.
think it was-
We're going into a whole nother topic.
I
we don't
think
know
it was like a
enough about.
Russell something. Hold on. Now I got to look.
We're going to find him.
NASCAR number 88 history. You think this will bring up any?
History.
It was yeah, it was Dale Jarrett. That's who I remembered. Yep.
Woo, woo, woo.
Alex Bowman
I
had
could be a
88 for a
racing
little while
historian.
too. Daryl Waltrip was also a driver of 88. Damn, 88 has some history to it.
Do a whole dissertation. Should we do a whole episode on the history of the 88 in NASCAR?
Dude, I'm willing to bet there's a podcast that just goes through each of the numbers of all the cars and has like fun stories about each driver with that number or whatever. That has to be a thing, right?
Or at least an episode, maybe. And if not, we could do it. If you want to hear about it, let us know. I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all.
I don't follow it now, let alone the history.
No. And then other than that, I've been trying to do my iRacing.
Yeah.
Like I've been enjoying. I got into it for some reason, but honestly, the last week has been really rough on me. I have really not enjoyed constantly. Just like every single race ends in a crash, or it like, and it's not just like a crash. It's like I work my way up to like 14x, and then the race ends with a crash. You know, it's like
Yeah.
my safety rating is like 1.4 right now.
Uh-oh.
It's so bad.
Like 1.4 in A?
B.
Oh my goodness, you're about to go to C class. You're going to have to do some Porsche Cup racing, Tom O'Gorman.
And every time I think I'll just do this race because I know I can get through it clean, someone does like I did a race where like these two teammates just started bouncing off each other and then they spun and they crashed the whole field across the start finish line. Like, what are we doing? So I've been trying. I've really been trying. Guys, we're doing a little bit behind the scenes coaching with DJ. I am. I told him I'm going to be his toughest client ever, but
Y-
he's going to get something out of it.
You haven't done any laps yet since I pointed out some low hanging fruit, Tom. Come on.
I have not. No,
Nope, you haven't.
I haven't cleaned my pedals out yet. Okay, that was 4 hours ago. Calm down.
you
You're
better
making it
get
sound like it was 2 weeks
you
ago.
better get to work, Tom O'Gorman. Do you think I just sit around and watch my clients fail?
No, but I'm scared. I'm on the tipping edge of like I'm losing interest already because of how messy it is.
But
So
don't
my
what
goal is to get better enough at it that I can have fun with it. Maybe that'll get me out of the zone of like the kill zone because I'm genuinely like I can take responsibility for probably 20% of what happens. Like last night when I bounced off that guy and I spun, but that's such a small percentage of how these things come about. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Other than I'm
you're just in the kill zone.
genuinely slower. I'm slower than a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're in the kill zone and there's like a zone in the field. That's why there's like a thing called mid pack Larrys, where it's like people uh they're fast enough to be dangerous, but then not in control enough to not actively cause murder like on a regular basis. And if you find yourself around those people, then you're in the kill zone.
It's kind of like when like a person is great but people suck, and the joke about like people individually are great but like people together suck.
Yeah,
Like there's the mid pack are not Larrys. It's so when you put everybody there, it's like they all become Larrys
it's
and they
like
can't
a
help it. And I'm a Larry too, and I don't want to be a Larry. Ah,
yeah, it's like a Larry amplitude. It's like the Larrys like feed off of each other, and it like magnifies the Larrying.
I think it's just everybody in that zone. It's first of all, there's more cars there, but I think it's that everybody in that zone has a tendency to try just a little bit too hard. And the combination of there being like twice as many cars in that space versus at the front and everybody trying a little bit too hard in that space. It's like everybody needs to be more perfect, really, but everybody's a little bit less perfect, and that's why everybody in that space ends up with the problems.
Yeah,
And when I say everybody, I'm still talking about me in this damn game.
but I think I want to believe that if you just if like some of the low hanging fruit that we talked about like starts clicking and you see it and you notice it and you like see it starting to fade away, then that will like you say you're on the tipping point of like losing interest. I feel like you'd be like, oh, that like feel a little bit more reinvigorated because you see like this progress that you like have that you weren't seeing before.
Yep,
So
agreed.
hopefully we'll see. I honestly the feedback that you've already given me, um, which was the I shouldn't be mentioning that people should be trying to get to my pace or something along those lines. I forget what it was because we were talking about somebody was happy to be like 2 seconds off of me, but I've been working with this person for a while, and I I am under the opinion that they shouldn't be happy with that. They should like still be hungry. But then Tom's advice was, uh, you want to say what your advice was?
Well, yes, but it wasn't necessarily advice for you for him.
No,
It
it was
was
just
more like
in
for
general.
me.
Yeah,
If we were like, if you're gonna look at some data after, or once a week at after a coaching client for 5 minutes, and you're gonna send me notes every once in a while, like keep an eye on this thing, keep an eye on this thing, keep an eye on this thing. For me, if you were to frame that in the context of so that I can beat you, I know how hard you've worked to become that good at the sim, and that's not my goal, and I'm not interested. So as soon as you frame it like you're still 3/10 off of me, I'm still beating you, whatever it would be, I'm like, I don't care, whatever. Like, no, I don't care.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
as soon as I framed it in the sense of like, if I get better at this thing so that I can have a little bit more fun, because I don't care that I'm not winning. I care that my fun keeps getting sucked by seemingly not being able to avoid incidents without being just like a complete pushover every time somebody makes me uncomfortable, just let them go, which I'm not willing to do because that's not fun. If you keep it in that context of making sure that I'm like, you don't have to do anything, but just for me, not comparing myself to someone who's worked as hard as you have to be as good as you are, and my goal is to beat you. That's not my goal. So my advice, if anything, was when you're coaching people, make sure that your goal is the coachable like end thing, the carrot, rather than like beating your reference lap or winning the race or like whatever.
See, I think the thing is that I placed like in that moment when I was talking to you about like, oh, I want this person to be like hungry for the whole 2.2 seconds that they were behind me, not like this, oh, I'm happy with like where we're sitting right now and I want them to be like hungry is like that's like that's my own lizard brain, right? But there's other approaches to it and there's other goals and stuff like that. So I think I just have
Yeah.
to keep in mind uh like that everyone has like their own goals and purposes with this thing. But like my goal as the coach is to help that person. Well, one have as much fun as possible, but also like like give away all the knowledge and the things that I've like figured out. Like I want to give you all of this stuff. You can't like I can't just give you all of it right away. It would be too much, too overwhelming. But over time, like
Right.
I want to keep giving you stuff to like focus and work on and do. So then you like the biggest achievement I could have is if a client starts beating me, like because I'd be like, that's so cool. Also,
Yeah.
like now we're racing to the death. No more tips for you.
You're fired.
You're fired.
This is why no more tips for you. This is why I don't tell you my tips I figure out in iRacing.
No, you do figure out some sneaky shit every once in a while, Tom.
But it's always sneaky.
Yeah.
I don't ever figure out anything simple or obvious.
No, it's the most
Um,
obscure shit, and it's so clever all the time.
Diego asked if this is about our last night race. Not specifically, but
I mean,
we
it
did have
started
some
the
wild little races
conversation,
last
yeah.
night.
Well, Diego
I
was
was going to
there.
bring something up about that. That idea of it's kind of like you're hungrier for the end goal than the person. Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah, kinda. Like I sometimes I think I might get caught up in like the end goal of like giving away all this information. Uh, and I don't. I mean, I could see. I don't think it's like necessarily like ruining their enjoyment. But I could see how me losing track of that could ruin their enjoyment of getting better at the thing. Uh, and I like you giving me the feedback that you did made me realize like how important it is to keep in mind that like while my end goal is to give away all this information, that
Mm,
shouldn't actually interfere with like the client's end goal.
mm,
Essentially, that's like
yeah,
that was my takeaway from our conversation. That's that's not exactly what you were saying, but that's what like my takeaway was.
sure. Yeah, so we'll have little updates as this goes on if it's productive for me or DJ. But
And
the last thing I was
if
going to
Tom
say,
quits,
something I
it's my fault.
well, I already told him if I argue with him or if I complain too much to call me on it. And then that's my sign to make sure that I'm either complaining or arguing about something productive that I have a question about and not just like venting.
I'm fully
Because I will I'm going to complain a lot.
I'm
Let's be
fully
honest.
I'm fully prepared for Tom to complain about very iRacing things. Like for instance, like your early Apex into one, like
Yeah,
the so part of what I thought you were getting like a
everywhere.
bad feedback loop from was because in real life your brain is telling you like I apex here, I'm throttled down, I barely stay on track. Like that's the correct angle and spot for the apex, right? Like that's like the internal flow chart of like order of operations, right? Does that make sense? So
Keep going,
you
sure.
find a point that is your apex. So you carry the weight on the nose down to that point and then you throttle out and you barely stay on the racetrack, right? When you get to that point, that's how you know like that's your apex, that's your angle at apex, stuff like that. But the traction control in the GT4 cars in iRacing, it's hard to feel because it's a sim. It's not like you necessarily have like the butt feel, but you can hear it and you can see the lights flashing on the dash. And if you're not tuned into those things, you can be throttled down all the way to the edge of the racetrack and barely stay. But essentially, what's happening is the throttle's getting cut. So it's kind of like you're fluffing in the middle of the corner where you're like partial throttle, not actually ready to leave the corner until like you're like basically at the edge of the racetrack. Right. So it's like extending your time in the corner. And that's what I saw in turn one. And so, like, basically, the correlation I made was all right, Tom knows how to do this in real life, obviously. So, like, my troubleshooting, like, thoughts were this is just some information that he's missing in sim that, like, normally, like, because if it was real, If it was a real car, you would feel the TC kick in. You would like feel that behavior in the car. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I just need to apex a little later, like have more of a radius in, so I have more of a straight line out, so the TC's not like choking up the car, right? Like you would just notice that. But in the sim, that is harder to notice, or yeah, at least you have to pay attention to different things. So like that was my feedback in like turn one, and I was noticing that happening in like turn 2 through 5 as well. Like just that like subtle behavior. You're throttled down, but you're not accelerating like the car should be, right? So that's I took like where I know you are as a real life driver, and like the struggles I was seeing in the sim, and that's like why I came up with like that low hanging fruit for you to like focus on.
So I agree with everything you said, and I understand what you said, but I disagree that that's the root of my issue. Because what's actually happening in my brain, using Sebring Turn One as our example that we've talked about, is not that I'm early apexing and not noticing that there's traction control on exit. It's that I don't know the limit of the car on the entry, and I don't know because I've spun so much and because I don't feel like I feel what's going to happen. I know I don't feel what's happening. I drive the car into the corner from the break point where I know I'm not going to die. And then as I'm coming off the brake, well, I just start to come off the brakes because I know I need the car to turn, but I can't feel when the car starts to turn until it like really hooks up.
Mm-hmm.
Then it hooks up, and then I'm like trying to manage grip off the exit of the corner. So everything past that turn in phase is just completely salvaging
Like
whatever happened.
wherever I end up. So when I was going lap to
And
lap,
the only reason that I
it
like
seemed
shallow up
relatively
entries and
consistent.
exits, the shallowing up of entries, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because I'm uncomfortable carrying like the speed of the arc because that's usually when I spin
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I can't really feel that limit. So I drive in shallower. I've always known that I've done this in sim racing, always shallower so that everything's straighter, so that I shorten up the corner where I'm uncomfortable. And then I drive off the corner trying to get straighter, but I'm fighting traction control things. And I know that they're there. Like you can feel it. I can feel it in the wheel. I feel it in the pedal and I can see the lights and I can hear all of that. Like I know it's happening, but the way that I have to drive to make myself feel comfortable has currently been that way, which makes me fight other weird issues. I always get bad runs off corners in iRacing. Even if I'll do the same lap time as anybody else, I'll have the worst run off the corner because of it.
Yeah.
And I've like never figured out how to have this problem solved.
I do think
Other than, of course, your main solution is like get
stiffen
a
up the
way
rig.
better equipment.
Yeah, well, no, you
Yeah.
can. So I like thinking of what your rig looks like. I was thinking if you got like some ratchet straps and some PVC, and you just cut the PVC to like be from the deck that your wheel sits on to the ground, and then you ratchet strapped it to like the rig, so it's like a leg. So like basically the deck can't flex side to side or up and down because it's like in the ground. Well, I guess it could
Mhm.
still go up in that scenario. So maybe you'd have to triangulate it somehow. But the like we just add material to your already existing rig, like just like figure it out in that way. And maybe what like if I have a free weekend, like I'll just come over and like just start going ham with some like PVC pipe or something. I'll bring
Sure.
some like glue and PVC pipe, and I'll just like start cutting and gluing and like doing like all sort because you're it's a steel rig, but like I can't weld. So like PVC would be the only thing I'd be able to do. But we could like stiffen it
My
up with PVC.
my mom can weld. She can come up.
Yeah. I mean, that would work if we got like some like metal and stuff. But seriously, like I think that would help a lot because the flex that you're feeling in the rig is taking away a bunch of information that you otherwise would get like through the
So
wheel.
I did figure out this was one thing I wanted to share on the podcast. I figured out one trick in the last 2 weeks that really helped with my feeling of the limit of the car that actually made me faster. And I was noticing that I don't know if this is partially a combination of me getting too comfortable in my sim rig. Cause this honestly, like for part of COVID, this was my desk in my bedroom. Like I just sat in my sim rig all the time. So it feels fairly comfortable to just sit there. And I don't know if that's led to bad posture and bad like approach. But I noticed when I'm driving, I'm leaned a little bit more forward in my shoulders, and I keep way more tension in my chest and my forearms than I ever remember doing, or I've ever noticed myself doing. I think I've been doing this forever. So I just tried like inhaling at the apex. And so like I would turn into the corner and at the apex I would inhale and it would force me to release my tension from the chest and forearms and I would move it back to my shoulders and back where you're supposed to drive and like actively moving the tension in my body to where it would be when I'm driving with G forces and stuff massively helped my feeling of the grip coming back after the apex.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out a trick for the entry yet. So I'm like, I'm trying, guys. I'm playing with stuff. I honestly wonder if anybody wants to try this in a real car or in a simulator. If you try just taking starting to inhale around the apex and like loosening your hands and just seeing if that helps you feel the limit of the car to unwind the car to the edge of the track. I would never have thought that that's be something that would help me, but if it helps anybody else, I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I think that'd be really tough to like actively choose how I'm breathing at a specific stage in the corner.
Well, that's the level of disconnect that I feel from the game. So I'm like trying anything I can.
But no, I'm saying that's kind of crazy. Like I'm because I'm like, what, like, am I breathing any certain way like during a corner? And then I was thinking, am I even breathing? Like I'm I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I know when I'm uncomfortable, I've said this before, I breathe, I keep my I don't keep a lot of air in in my body,
Yeah.
and I take really short, low breaths. And then every once in a while I have to remember to like and like actually get some air in my body. But
Yeah.
I think when I'm driving well and when I'm comfortable, that's not happening. So I have noticed, and that happens way more in the sim as well. I have to remember to take big, deep breaths. Guys, I don't have to think about any of this bullshit in a real car. This is what drives me nuts about this sim. But I think that this is probably stuff that ties enough that maybe other people will feel this about real driving. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm whenever I'm doing a sim race, especially if it's like a broadcasted race that I've practiced for, I'm always way more nervous in the sim than I ever am in real life, like ever. Even like solo nationals, I'm more nervous like sitting in the sim rig than I am. And solo
Yeah.
nationals is like the most nerve wracking like form of competition.
That used to be the case. I feel zero pressure about the sim rig now. I just want to have fun and not crash, and that's kind of it.
Mm.
I don't get the jitters anymore. I used to during
I
COVID and stuff
oh, I
though.
still
That was
feel it.
like the most serious thing ever.
So I didn't race for 2 weeks because of one lap, and I came back and just hopped in like a GT4 race around Laguna Seca, and I
Yeah.
felt like adrenaline and stuff like going on, and I literally just drove a car on a racetrack the whole week, and I'm getting a rush sitting in the sim rig, like because I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
Also, I found myself I'm like literally an addict because I found myself during one lap craving sim racing. Isn't that like the most crazy freaking thing ever? I'm literally driving on a
It is.
racetrack every single day and I'm like looking like, oh, what's the schedule right now? Like, ooh, what tracks and cars are like, ooh, that would be fun to race.
Right.
Yeah, insane. I have a problem. Please help me.
I no, you're I
Send
mean, it's becoming a very, very useful skill in your life that makes you money and stuff, so
send help in
don't be
form of
ashamed.
race car.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer
Or
some questions?
yes.
All right.
Sure do.
Emails. You got one?
Ooh. Yeah, I kinda like this one from Jay. This is about racing, like business racing. Is daddy money slash pay to play ruining grassroots racing,
Oh.
or is it the reality of how motorsports has always worked?
Hmm. I
All right, when he says grassroots racing, I take that as NASA SCCA grid life
that's
level,
yeah,
right?
that's basically it.
Yeah. Okay. I
Okay.
don't know.
Well,
This could be a whole topic
or like
a little bit.
or like endurance racing. Like
In that, yeah.
yeah, like Champ Car is getting pretty expensive. I think this is just how racing's always been. But then as like the pro, like the actual pro stuff gets more and more expensive, it shoves out the people that could have afforded that beforehand, and now they have to go somewhere else to play. So then they end up in the WRLs, which shoves out some of the people that would have been playing in there, and then those people end up in Champ Car, and then it shoves out some of the like lower end people from there, and then they go end up in playing in Lemons, right? It all trickles. This is where trickle down economics actually like is a thing. It didn't
Uh,
quite work the way Reagan thought it would, but it it like you actually like because the top end's getting so much more expensive that money has to go elsewhere and it like kind of like clunks down. So as pro racing is just so like crazy expensive. Like back in the day, IMSA, like Grand Am is what it used to be called. I feel like some of the more top end budgets in GLTC could have went and did like Grand Am racing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think about budget stuff, I have seen a pretty massive scope creep in required spending to be competitive over in grassroots motorsports. Definitely grid life, definitely mm, maybe not SCCA as much unless it's club racing. They haven't done anything. Okay, let me get my point is I more blame the organizers and the rules makers than the people who want to spend the money because like it's almost the same as people who are going to try too hard like you and I do when it comes to reading the rules and driving a certain way and whatever. We're going to push that to the absolute limit in the same way that every builder is going to take every rule set and they're going to want to do stuff to their cars or they're going to want to do stuff to their operations or they're going to want to have whatever it is that costs money. And when that starts to trickle down into having to have it in order to be sustainable where you are, whether that's like technology required in the car or whether that's every car needs its own wide body kit and a custom, venting and wings and all this stuff. If that becomes required base level for everybody to kind of even function in the paddock normally, that's where like the rules makers need to be able to reverse engineer that problem and say basically every single question should be, do we want every competitor to have to do this? And then you go from there. And if your series doesn't care, then that's great. I don't think every series should care, but I think grassroots has uh, an obligation to care to a level because grassroots is for everybody. So when it comes to everybody is required to have this level to be there, that's when it starts to suck. And that can also just be things like decal packages, as cool as they are, or it could be like yellow light systems in cars. I remember my yellow light system in my first fit, my pro racing car, was like $400 of wiring harnesses and switches. And I'm like, to tell me that the yellow flag over there is waving yellow. I can see the flag waving yellow. I have to spend $400. I was so mad. But that's how it is, right? So
Yeah.
you have to be able to identify like, is this thing worth everybody having? Is this thing worth having to be like literally the thing that keeps everybody from succeeding? And then you like scale it from there. So like if we use let's use grid life because it's the fewest number of classes. Sunday Cup, like the answer to that question is pretty good, I think. I think in time attack, at least, everything else is pretty poor. Like everybody has to have a ton of power. Everybody has to have built motors and flat like that. They've obviously answered no as most often relative to like NASA and SCCA. I just wish organizers would take like a moment to think about that because I really don't think they do.
I'm not sure.
When it comes
Yeah.
to economics and financials, I don't think they do.
Yeah, I don't but I like Grid Life is a different animal because they're still selling out events. So,
Well, that's that aside. They're filling a different market too with
yeah, they are.
like it's a marketing company over a motorsports company where the other ones are like motorsports orgs that are trying to do marketing and other stuff.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, and I think it's yeah. The so I liked your viewpoint of these organizers should think about, okay, if I allow this single thing to exist, does that make it where everyone needs this thing? And then you have to think, does that add to what this class is or what it should be or what it can be, right? And like you said, some classes, yeah, sure, but not all classes
Yeah,
need to be that. Like Spec Miata is way too expensive for what it is. They could have the same racing for half the cost of what those cars actually are because they allowed these like weird tolerances and I mean they have to draw the line somewhere on the rules, but there's a thing in one lap, and I feel like more organizers should have this as like a clause because I was talking about like the format of the rules for the skid pad is if you hit a cone, you lose that lap. Well, what if you hit every single cone on that lap? Then you
right.
get to drive a tighter radius with no penalties on the second lap. And then I was pointed out, well, Brock is a benevolent dictator and he'll just say, no, cut that shit out. You place last. So it keeps people from doing dumb shit because like somebody can come in and go like, no, stop that. Right.
Right.
So if that was enforced and not just like the driving rules, but like the competition, like car rules, if there's like a spirit of like the spirit of what the car rules should be, and then people start showing up. I'm picking on GLTC here, but if people start picking up, showing up with these like computer aided designed rear spoilers with like slits cut out of them where they're small enough to not really let the air through. There's like a buildup of air, but like it gives them more surface area. But technically, it's 250 or under 250 square inches. Guys, what are we doing? Why? Like that's
I think there's a window at like the September October window of every race season where you would have the chance to go, what was different about this year than last year? What made everybody spend more money unnecessarily? Unfortunately, that's like poor. I'm a shit business person, so this is all like against business and like capitalism. Like
yeah.
I know all of that feels like, or all of that's like important too, but
Oh,
I think
hold
you should
on.
take an assessment of like what started costing people money that it did that wasn't necessary.
Does
Was it something about modifying cars? Was it something about format? Was it something about like like if a race series changes their days and all of a sudden you have to be there on Thursdays too. That kind of stuff is all need to be taken into account because that's all stuff that costs people both time away from their real lives and then money and time to be doing this fun thing.
uh
That's what I think. I don't. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, Jay, no, I don't think family money or pay to play or anything is ruining. I think if anything, it can be mostly reverse engineered to organizers not paying attention or being proactive enough. Is that too harsh? That came out harsher than I meant, but
uh the
being willing
problem
to tell those people with money to no,
the problem is
no.
like some of these a lot of the classes are like classes by committee, right? So the committee is
So
like the one making the rules and the things and
sometimes, yeah,
yeah.
sometimes because that all depends on the series and stuff. Here's an interesting one though. So one of the things about Rockwell and some other teams that came into Champ Car is they were looked really, really negatively upon because they came in with their IMSA haulers and
Mhm.
they would set up their pit lane stuff that they had because that's their hauler. So when you're doing a Champ Car race with an IMSA team and an IMSA tower and all this, and you look like an IMSA team, but you're basically just doing everything that everyone else is doing. You just look like you have a castle. How do you there's that one starts to become really hard because if that team's also doing a really good job and they happen to have a little castle next to their pit lane, that doesn't
I think
I've been on the inside of this bubble and I don't have the answer to like how do you fix that kind of thing where
yeah.
everybody just looks negatively upon this yes, it's nice to have, but it's not actually a performance advantage. It's a perception thing.
I think that the thing that's inherent about motorsports is that money is never going to make you slower. Like that's the more money you have, the more competitive you'll be, no matter what the rules are to some extent. It's just that you can make it within noise of like a really great driver can still compete in like that space if the rules are clever, or just or if they're strict and like buttoned down. So
Yeah.
like the because think about it, like even like Spec 3, which is probably doing it the best right now with like their Spec E36. It is like so simple. Uh, Somebody with like a ton of money could find the exact like most high outputting spec E36 engine. They could time out all their parts so everything's real fresh on the car all the time, so they have really good reliability. They could like take it to the nth degree, and it'd still be completely like all the other cars. Just everything's a little bit better, right? So then like that's way more expensive for just a little bit better thing if money doesn't like matter at all. But money will always matter in racing. I think instead of like beating your head against it, if you're financially challenged like Tom and I, is you kind of have to embrace. Tom looked offended for a second. Uh,
But you're only gonna say me. I was like, damn.
uh, if if you just kind of take that as part of the challenge of motorsports, is like because at the end of the day, all you can do is work with what you got. So, like at one lap, on the third lap, when I have a 200 horsepower Supra, I just tried to maximize my 200 horsepower Supra because I'm just trying to maximize what I got. So when you show up to the racetrack and your credit cards are loaded, and and then you're still looking real poor compared to everyone else, all you can do is maximize whatever you got, and that's I think probably the healthy space to live in with motorsports,
Yeah,
because you're never going to outspend the other person because there's always somebody with more money. That literally won't happen. Um, Unless Bezos really gets into like driving race cars all of a sudden instead of like flying rockets and stuff. But it if you frame yourself in I just need to maximize with what I got while I'm at the racetrack, and when I'm outside of the racetrack, I need to maximize everything to be as efficient with my resources as possible. Then that's the game we're playing in motorsports. It doesn't just live on the track; it's everywhere.
totally agree. Do you know you just described a plot point in Iron Man 2?
Did I?
Yeah. Robert Downey Jr., aka Tony Stark, he owns a race team in Formula One. And then right before the Monaco Grand Prix, key plot point in the movie, they have a debate, and Tony Stark's like, "Why own the race team if I can't drive the car?" And he fires the driver like right before the race, and the guy's like, and then he like does the race, and then the richest man in the world is just in the race.
That's what you get to do when you're the richest man in the
There you go.
world.
Last thing from this weekend, I just was reminded we were talking about race series and stuff. I was watching the WeatherTech race. No, it was the Pilot Challenge race. So it was GT4s and TCR, and there was a restart where like the whole back of TCR just like swarmed the whole front of TCR swarmed the back of GS right into the final corner, that really tight turn 11. And of the swarm, only one car got a drive-through penalty. And it was because it was the only car that started to pass before the green flag came out going into that corner. And the commentators are going, so that car is the only one to do it because at this moment they move out of line before the green flag, and the race director. You remember how I always talk about the race director at IMSA being like
Like,
amazing?
yeah, super solid.
They're like in the drivers' meeting this morning. Bo Barfield, the race director, said there's a likely stack up going to happen on every restart at turn 11. If you move out of line before the turn, even before the turn, that counts as moving out of line before the green. You can't move out, you can't pass. And then it happened in the race, and they penalized the driver. And I was like, damn, that guy's good. They predicted that that would happen. They told everybody it would happen, and then they held everybody accountable when they fucked it up. I want to have him on the podcast so bad. We're gonna have him soon.
Ooh, do you think we could? Do we think you have the poll to do that? Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
Tom, I feel like I
I've
failed
asked
the.
him before.
I feel like I failed the podcast. I saw Ross
Why?
Bentley the entire week, and I just wanted to go up and thank and shake the man's hand for like his Ultimate Speed Secrets book, which like definitely sent me on like the right path when I was trying to figure out this driving stuff. And every single time somebody was next to him, and I was just too much of a nervous nerd to go up and say, Ross, thank you for writing that book. You helped me out so much. The only thing I said to him all week was talking shit right before the drag before me and Ross went down the drag strip.
I think that's appropriate. A lot of people meet you that way.
I just I just looked over at him and said more than you can afford, pal, and then did a burnout. That's the only thing I said to Ross Bentley the whole
I
week.
know. Well, when we have him on, he's higher priority than Bo Barfield. We'll have him first,
Okay.
and you can thank him then.
All right.
What are you doing this weekend?
I am going to the Washington D.C. Pro Solo.
Ooh, fun. You
It's
driving with Peter?
I am driving with Peter. It's the fourth time I'm going to try to take down Daddy-O. So we'll see if it happens.
You 0 for 3?
I'm 0 for 3. I don't know if
Okay.
I've ever been 0 for 3 on anybody, but Daddy-O's doing it. Oh, I'm like 0 for like 7 against you, Tom. So I guess that I guess
No,
that counts.
if all the iRacing takes it out.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I got you virtually at least.
You just got to get Daddy O on iRacing, and you can
Oh,
you
then
can
I'll
beat him into a pulp every week
yes.
there.
Beat him into a pulp, and then
Yeah.
I'll race against whatever remains at the DC Pro Solo. What a great plan, Tom.
Guys, last night in this little race, I had like a pretty good lap. I qualified fourth. I was on the same 10th as the next couple people ish, couple tenths. And then DJ's 1.1 seconds in front of us. And I'm like, are you having fun? That's how not Ross Bentley. That's how Mark Daddio feel.
It might feel when Daddy-O just like runs away from the whole field.
Yeah. That's cool. Good luck. Are
Thanks,
you going
Tom.
up Thursday and then practice Friday?
No, I'm not gonna do any practice starts. I'm just gonna show up Friday evening, maybe I'll get there early enough to walk the course and then drive on Saturday
Cool.
because I don't have any vacation time. I was hoping to take half days uh, when I was doing one lap. There was literally no chance of that happening. I was conversating and hanging out with too many people, and yeah, there's no way.
It's better that way. I'm going to see my family for a makeup Mother's Day because I was. Oh, they were gone. They were at some wedding, other side of the family thing. So that'll be fun.
I like that your family does makeup like Mother's Days and stuff like that. You know how much shit I get for like being busy like on these not this particular holiday, but
Hey,
just like holidays and it's like, "Oh, you missed it." And it's like, "Well, like can we schedule it some other time?" But no, it needs to be on this day.
that's true. We do a pretty good job of consolation days, but also I'm making up for 15 years of lost time in these first couple months of this year because I've been the little gypsy person
Yeah,
gone
okay.
for years at a time. Uh, so they are owed it for sure.
That'll be fun. Tom, when's the next time you drive?
The next time I drive is probably when I coach Jennifer again in 2-3 weeks at Summit Point.
Cool. And how's the dog stuff going?
I still have yet to go because I've been traveling every weekend up until this one. I still have to go get my training in the office,
Oh,
but they
gotcha.
only do trainings on Fridays and Saturdays. So I
Oh,
figured out like it's a little
yeah.
tough. So I'm going there the week before. So 2 weeks I get trained and I can start volunteering. In 3 weeks I'll drive again. But I could drive before then. I guess I'll get with you on where I could go.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, I so the weekend after this one, I'm going camping with Christine, so I won't be able to
You want me to drive
partake.
you?
Sure. We'll get there in no
I'm kidding.
time.
Yeah.
Tom, you were so missed at one lap, by the way. Like so many people, like you, even though you weren't there, like in person, there were so many times where it's like, well, I'm no Tom O'Gorman or anything, but like, I'm serious, you're
Oh,
like a
really?
legend. Yeah, you're like a legend. So we missed you.
That's hard to wrap your head around, but I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
I missed everyone too.
yeah. So maybe next year we'll get you back out to one lap. And then
I'd love to,
maybe I'll live vicariously if Peter doesn't go again and if I don't find another ride.
unless I live in Ireland by then.
Mm. Oh, Tom, I was actually thinking about this. All right, we got a little time to kill. We're not wrapping up yet. So
Oh,
the
okay.
one lap event is such like an enigma in like the US. Like really nothing tries to copy it. Like the SCCA just did their Targa thing, which looked like a lot of fun. That's like the closest thing that I've seen that copies it. Canada has like their Ontario 1500 like Targa thing that they do.
Mhm.
That like kind of copies it. Does Europe have anything like this? Because Europe has racetracks everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
I don't think they do because well, I've never heard of it if they do, but I mean, this whole thing was grown out of like super illegal on-road activity, and they don't really tolerate that in Europe. So I'm guessing that they don't have any sort of inspiration like we did, because the whole one lap thing came from the Cannonball Run across the country
Yeah,
on public roads as fast as you can.
right. So
You would
if
do that
you
in Switzerland, they would shoot your face off. They would no, they don't
they
let you
wouldn't
do
shoot
that.
your face off, you'd just be in jail. They would
Right.
they would baton your face off. They don't really cops don't really have guns over there, Tom.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Uh
But motorsports is illegal in Switzerland.
is it like any kind of motorsports?
I forget the rule. It's after the 1955 Le Mans crash where it killed a bunch of spectators. The
Yeah.
country of Switzerland outlawed. I think they outlawed circuit racing, but I don't really know what that means because they do a lot of hill climb. I watch a lot of Swiss hill climb videos
Okay,
back in
that's
the day.
interesting. I feel like hill climb is way more dangerous than the circuit, but okay. Um
You would think. I don't know what the rule is, but
um if you did go to Europe, what if you started like a one lap of Europe kind of thing? Cuz you're
I have the name. I could start in the UK, like the Tom O'Gorman one
of
lap of the UK.
of England or whatever. Yeah, yeah, I mean, you'd
Yeah, we
figure
could
out the
hit.
branding when you're there, but like I feel like because it's such a unique event and it gives you like that. I was telling Brock like halfway through, I'm like, oh, it did the one lap thing where I just feel like this is every day now. I just convinced myself that this is forever. I feel
Yeah.
like that feeling is something that everyone should feel at some point, and one lap does it. So there should be little one laps like all over the world, essentially.
There are companies that do experiences like that where they'll take you to like spa and the Nürburgring and like a really fancy dinner and like it's a whole package. I know
Yeah.
people who've done that. And I know that they do it in America too. Like you can do like a package weekend of Road Atlanta, Daytona Speedway, and uh like a tour of Cape Canaveral or something. I forget. But they do like a little experience where you see a couple racetracks and then something local and like the whole your husband and wife can go and enjoy it. That's not really one lap though.
No.
That's not competitive.
No, it would be a competitive thing. I don't know how you'd like once you get the ball rolling, it would be fine. But like getting the ball rolling would be the hardest part. Like how do you get people to sign up for this thing that some American wants to do?
No, I'll fake an accent.
Well, oh yeah, let me hear your Lucky Charms accent. Tom, go ahead.
No, I'd be Australian.
That's not gonna help you either. You know Australia is not in Europe, right?
Yeah, but I think they'd respect me more. And I've seen Finding Nemo enough that I think I can stay in character.
It's pretty good. It's pretty
It's
good,
okay,
Tom.
right? P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way.
Say
No.
we're not here to fuck spiders.
Oh, mate, I didn't come here to fuck spiders.
It's
I
perfect.
mean,
It's perfect. Tom
a little
American
gruff.
Tom O'Gorman, the American with the Irish name with the Australian accent.
I think I probably covered all of Australia there too. Like all the regional accents, I covered everything.
Yeah, if the 3 downloads that we get from Australia are listening to this right now being like, "I don't know where that Australian man would be from." Uh,
I'm the Pelican from that's who I'm channeling. And a little bit of Steve Irwin. Just a little bit.
I used, "We're not here to fuck spiders" a couple times during, one lap, and every single time I said it, people thought it was hilarious. That's such a funny thing to say.
Do you want to tell the podcast what it is?
Well, it just means like we're not messing around. Like we're serious business. So if
Yep.
it's like you're like being an extra on the car and somebody questions you, be like, "Hey, we're not here to fuck spiders."
Yeah.
Then they're caught
I
off
like that you
guard.
grabbed that.
Yeah, no, that's like the funniest. To me, that's like one of the funnier things ever. So
You pelican.
yeah. Oh, I forgot
Man,
about the
I should just
pelican
move to
thing.
Australia.
Maybe, but I feel like there's much more motorsports in Europe.
Yeah. The crazy part about Australian motorsports is they have the same like scene that we do, but they only have like 12 tracks and they're only around the coast.
Yeah,
Can you imagine if all the racetracks were like on the border of Canada, the coast, and Mexico?
that would be wild. You would be really good at like 3 tracks.
If that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christina and I were talking about like what it would look like if we went to Europe, but not to like live there, but like an extended stay. And because we can work both of our jobs remote, so we would just like do our work day, which over there would be like the middle of the day. So we'd have the whole morning to do whatever, and then we would hop on our laptops and then work like the 8 a.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. And then by then it would be bedtime. You go to bed, and you wake up, and then you're in Europe, and you do like all this stuff. And then you have the weekends, and you like go like you could just like visit like most of Europe, like just working remote for like a month or two, because everything, depending on what country you're staying, everything's so cheap. Like we were looking it up. Really nice hotels were like $39 in Spain.
Oh yeah, I guess I do understand that Spain and Portugal, I think, are among the cheaper.
Yeah, and
Unless you want
Italy.
to go like Eastern Europe.
Yeah, Italy's pretty cheap. Like it's like you could really spend a lot of time in Europe, and like it.
Get in touch with your roots.
Yeah, I could go to Porto Ascaccioli.
Give us your Italian accent.
Uh, Mamma mia, spicy
Yeah,
meatball, pizzeria.
yours is way
Hello,
worse.
my name is Giovanni Alessandrini.
I don't think Italians are that picky though. They'd probably be like, welcome.
They would just see, honestly, so Porto Ascaccioli, there's like an entire town. So it's Port of Ascaccioli, but it's called Porto Ascaccioli. It's an entire town, and
Yes.
if you search my last name, it's like Alessandrini Dentistry, Alessandrini Lawyer, Alessandrini this, Alessandrini. It's just a town of Alessandrinis, and that's where my great grandparents came from.
That's cool. I don't really know what else to say to that.
Okay, you want to just
I
wrap
ran
it
out of
up?
things.
You want to just wrap it up?
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Tom, take us out.
Oh, that was abrupt.
Oh,
Hey, everyone, thanks for no, we're going. And I love your hair, and I hope you win.